first song we'd like to offer is written by Swami Ananda entitled Blessed the Life.
This is week 6 and the topic is the importance of soul-receptivity. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Chapter 1 of the Gospel of St. John states, "But as many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God, even to them that believed on his name." This was a passage Paramahansa Yogananda often quoted to his disciples. Be in tune, he would tell them. Delusion can touch you if you will keep in tune. A few of you will fall, he said once, but it needn't be if you would stay in tune. Of a disciple who became highly advanced, even though she didn't meditate much, he said she got there by attunement. To one who found meditation difficult, he said, I will meditate for you as long as you stay in tune. Truth is a state of consciousness, not a well-worded definition. It is in that consciousness above all, that our lives are transformed. Therefore, the Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, to those who are ever attached to me and who worship me with love, I impart discernment, by means of which they attain me. Out of my love for them, I, the divine within them, set alight in them the radiant lamp of wisdom, thereby dispelling the darkness of their ignorance. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om.
Good morning. I see a few new faces. My name is Surendra. I'm here with Lorna and also with Pavani and Vajra. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to begin with a short reading from Man's Eternal Quest by Paramahansa Yogananda. The secret of happiness is not to become attached to anything. Enjoy the smell of the flower, but see God in it. I have kept the consciousness of the senses only that in using them I may always perceive and think of God. It is not necessary to go to the forest to find Him. The yogi learns to find God in the cave of his heart. Wherever he goes, he carries with him the blissful consciousness of God's presence. That reading leads nicely into our topic this morning, soul receptivity. There's a poetry in those words, don't you think? Soul receptivity. So expansive. You know, you would think that people would want that to be the first and foremost important thing in their lives. But soul receptivity is hardly the focus of modern life. It's not taught in our schools, probably not in very many homes, and it is not practiced in the social and commercial activities that we see in our world. How did it come that we would believe that anything could be more important? If you grew up in America, you were taught to aim for self-sufficiency, to be competitive, and to strive to get ahead. This was and still is considered the practical approach to life. And not only that, even the most noble. You may remember years ago a TV ad for the U.S. Army. It was very powerful. The theme of it was powerful and very compelling. Be all that you can be. Yeah. And I can still hear the heroic music that was played behind it. The Army was appealing to the ego in young men and women, promoting itself as the place where they could achieve their mental and physical potential. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But is that all there is to being all that you can be? America loves a winner. But its definition of winning, it doesn't do much, if anything, to address what this life is really about. Our social conditioning leaves a big gap in people's awareness of what is truly needed to be in harmony and at peace with ourselves and with each other. I was raised to compete, and I did okay. My world was not a vicious one. I was not fighting to survive, only to live the American dream. But before I even knew what a mantra is, I had one. What's in it for me? If someone had mentioned soul receptivity to me back then, I wouldn't have known what they were talking about, and I probably wouldn't have stayed around to find out. I was a friendly guy, hardworking and fair-minded. I just didn't know what I was missing. In our Festival of Light, the little bird, that tiny rebel, finally comes to the stage of his journey, which is called the quest, when he begins to understand that there is more to life than his ambitious ideas. This, however, is not the quest that society is urging us to undertake. Its version is a full-blown campaign to realize what it calls the good life. It's the Madison Avenue version. Very slick, very persuasive. You think you're playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, pursuing your favorite desires, but not realizing that you're actually stuck in that earlier stage of the journey, which is called the revolt. Because it's a revolt against soul receptivity. As the festival says, that bird's day was like eons of our time. Eons of buying into the whole materialistic myth that lots of goodies are a good thing to have, especially if you can manage to have more of them than the next guy. It isn't until we make the turn to simplicity and moderation that we realize that the quest, the real quest, begins when the good life becomes for us the one that we find within ourselves. Do you have to renounce everything you like and everything that you have? Of course not. You simply have to put it in perspective. And what that means is putting the soul first. The quest we are inwardly seeking, we often use a reference to mountain climbing. It's an easy analogy to grasp because the qualities that we need, courage, discipline, training, energy, endurance, willpower, these are all qualities that it's very important to cultivate. But people climb mountains for a number of reasons, and not all of them are of the highest nature. Ego, pride, the bragging rights are sometimes what are more at the root of the climber's motivation. And for some, it's just a race to the top rather than a journey of gratitude and of joy. These driving forces can also be found among many people who are seeking to climb to self-realization. Often there's a tendency to kind of check each other out, and to start comparing skills and commitment and perhaps even the appearance of progress or the lack of it. Suddenly spirituality becomes a competitive sport just like all the others. There's talk about how long or how many times a person is meditating, how many pranayams we're doing as if they were reps at the gym, or what we did or didn't see behind closed eyes. And when we do this, we give the power of soul receptivity to our egoic tendencies instead. And what's the value in that? There isn't any. It's the ego's way to measure and to compare, which is, it's simply counterproductive, especially on the spiritual path. It's distracting, it can be discouraging, and thus detrimental to our spiritual progress. So let's not measure and compare. But by all means, let's do relax. How can you open your heart to God if you are not relaxed? How can you open your heart to anyone else if you're not relaxed? How can you enter into stillness without being centered and calm within? The blessing of Christ consciousness is not something we compete for. God does not bestow it upon the restless, rajasic person, because that person is not coming from soul receptivity. Soul receptivity starts with showing up for meditation, for our personal responsibilities, for life. The message here is that God's grace is there for us at all times, but we have to be there for it. Unless we are on its wavelength, in attunement with its vibration, we might as well be 1,000,000 miles away. Think of the promise in today's reading from the Bible. To many as received him, to them gave he the power to become the sons of God. It doesn't get any better than that. But we have to be ready to do the do. The key word in that passage is power. The power of self-control, as represented by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. The power of courage, conviction, discernment, and above all, attunement to the guidance of God and Guru. That sounds like a huge challenge, and it is, but only because we resist it. Such power is not dispensed like sodas from a vending machine, but if you truly and fully open yourself to receive it, it will take you home. Let's reflect for a moment on the life of Swami Kriyananda. How can anyone write 150 seminal books, compose over 400 pieces of inspiring music, give over 1,000, many thousands probably, lectures and classes, and record 1,000 TV programs, and be the founder and shepherd of 8 thriving communities without losing a minute of his inner peace? Swami was truly a living testament to the power of soul receptivity. Was he very much different than you and I? Only in the degree of his devotion to God and to Guru. Swami's attunement, it never wavered. Whereas ours, Well, sometimes it does. To waver is not a sin. It's nothing but a self-inflicted setback that we're here to overcome. The more we overcome, the more productive we become, and the happier too. Swami was the happiest person I've ever known. And it wasn't just a matter of good karma. It was total attunement to his master's ray. In today's affirmation, we were shown that work in the spirit of service is also a way to that divine connection. I will do my work thinking of thee, Lord. I offer to thee the very best that is in me. Work to me is supremely noble occupation. Whether it's the messiest chore, raising a family or running a business or a country. Work nourishes the soul. Whether it's something of major importance or something less. Work is about the journey more than the destination. And performed with a willing attitude, it becomes a blessing to the individual and to the universe alike. Because when you do it in that spirit, the soul is naturally open and receptive. If I ask myself why I was born, the answer in one form or another is essentially the same. It is to offer to thee, Lord, the very best that is in me. Good work drives out our pettiness, our moodiness, our worries. A lot of what Ananda is about community. And a lot of that is what most folks think of as work. Building, fixing, and maintaining things. And God knows there's plenty enough of that always on our agenda. But the real work we do is about building, fixing, and maintaining ourselves. Our attitudes, our behavior, our relationships in particular. These are what are most involved in creating the kind of community that serves the good of all. You can build a house, but it isn't a home if it's only a structure, even if it's a palace. You have to fill it with love and with joy. Otherwise, it's merely a temporary shelter. Likewise, a body is not a home if the person living inside is not happy, is lazy or angry or greedy or selfish. When that is the case, there is work to be done. This life on earth has been designed as a test. You know that. A test of will, a test of courage, a test of attitude and behavior. Every day arrives with challenges, whether big or small. You know they're going to be there because you're going to be there. And it's our job to meet these challenges and put them behind us. We make things appear complex, and we are very skillful at that. And also skillful at getting entangled in the details of the jobs that we need to do, missing the greater picture. And when we do, it really comes down to a matter of do or don't. It's that simple. It's not complex. If you don't do what you should do, then you get to deal with it again. And we certainly know from experience what that's like. If you do, but you do it badly, well, at least you've made a start. And doing it again the next time makes it a little easier, and you're closer to getting the job done. And when it's done, it's done. You don't have to deal with that again. You move on to whatever is next. Every test is a summons to do the work that is needed in order to pass it. It's a call to the best that is in us. And when we give that best, there is growth. There is greater freedom. There is inner peace and joy. And there is soul receptivity. I'd like to close with a reading from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. This is number 103. Demand for the opening of the spiritual eye to find God in everything. This is about soul receptivity. My eyes are enthralled, O Father, with the beauty of earthly flowers, with life's passing scenes, and with the sailing silent clouds. Everywhere, all that I see hints of thy hidden presence. Open that eye in me which sees only thee. With that gaze may I behold thee above, beneath, all around, within, and outside me. Teach me in all things to see only thee. Open in me that eye which beholds everywhere thy hidden but ever subtly reigning wonder. Om Shanti Shanti.
This next song is entitled Cloisters, and what I'll invite you to do is sit back, relax, open your heart, and practice that soul receptivity for the vibrations and the beauty within this simple piece.
May the I just wanted to make sure you knew what was happening. You can pick up one of these at the front desk if you want. Also go online, of course, to our website and our calendar. This week on Wednesday, we have our drop-in book study about Asha's book, The Light Bearer, which is all about Swami Kriyananda, as well as the entire history of Ananda and this work. And it's fascinating stuff, and even if you haven't been coming, you can still drop in and join them in discussing that. And then we have a special treat on Friday, the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. At our community, we're going to have a little dessert potluck for fun, and then our friend Sitabai, who is from Ananda Village, is going to be giving a presentation about upcoming pilgrimage, El Camino in Spain. And even if you're not interested in going on the pilgrimage, she's going to be sharing a slideshow and stories, and it'll be a fun thing to do. All are welcome to come. If you need to know where the community is, just ask. We'll tell you. And then we also have a kirtan coming up on the 21st, which is a Friday, and other classes and things that are happening. Stay in tune with what's going on, because you might miss something really cool and fun. Next month in March, we have several visitors from Ananda Village coming, including Dambar and Manisha, who used to be ministers, light bearers here. Now they're up in Washington, but they're going to be giving service. And Maria, Nayaswami Maria and Parvati are coming for a Kriya weekend. We have Pranaba and Jyoti coming from the village for the annual appeal weekend. So just keep coming. Lots of good stuff. Thanks for being here this morning.